Okay, we have our Luma key sorted out. So let's start to work on this transition. Um, that's it. Stylize, roughen edges. And in fact, before we apply that, actually, what I recommend you do is just duplicate your overlay layer and just using Alt and close parentheses um, and Alt open parentheses. You can basically trim your comp down so that we have this Declan overlay is completely unaffected by effects, and you won't get any kind of unknown artifacting or anything like that, or little problems coming up. Just kind of keep it separate, really. Um, if you missed what I just said there, you can literally click and drag to change the length of these clips if you want as well. Alright, we'll just call this, this is our overlay layer, our main one now, so we'll just keep that there. And we'll just go Declan overlay and effect will do the trick. Okay, awesome. So now we'll click on our effect layer and we'll just go effect, stylize, roughen edges, and there we go. Now, so what I kind of did here was I just kind of made it weird kind of wobbly wavy thing going on as the transition started and as he started to fade out. So what I did here was basically just keyframe the border, the scale, and I think that was it. You've got like several different edge types. I think I use spiky, but feel free to experiment with them and see which one suits your needs best. Now, if we just go to say about here in the transition and just bump up the border, perhaps. Yeah, there we go. And perhaps bump up the scale. Now, by bumping up the border and the scale, what you'll kind of get is you'll get this weird kind of wobbly effect that I was talking about earlier. And if we then just reverse the effect here, maybe lower the border, maybe mess with the scale a bit, kind of get this weird effect. In fact, it's probably better to keep going with the scale actually. If you just click on your layer and you press U, you get all the keyframes you've applied so far. In fact, I might just delete these two and just drag these across. There we go. Alright. Since we're just using those, maybe double click on the keyframe if you want to adjust it. Or just bump that up just a tiny bit more so that it's a bit more sporadic. Cool. There we go. So that's that done. Another thing I did is I went effects, blur, CC vector blur. Cool. Now if we click our stopwatch again at 0.1 at the start of our transition, and maybe just as it gets to about there, increase it a little bit. So about there, yeah, and it kind of gives it a bit more of an organic look. Anyway, what I did just to make this a little bit cleaner was just to add an easy ease keyframe. An easy ease keyframe basically just changes the interpolation between the keyframes a little bit, so you get a nice curve as opposed to a linear line. Click on it and press F. Well, my F9 is not working, so you can just right click and go keyframe assistant, easy ease, and I mean that the effect will start off increasing slowly, but then kind of increase at its normal rate. I might drag this out just a little bit more, just to soften the effect a little bit. And there we go. Okay, that's looking okay so far. Last thing we want to do is just go effect, trap code. These effects don't come with After Effects, but I highly recommend going to Red Giant Software and just picking them up. That if you're serious about this, they're really good. The effects you can produce with them are absolutely phenomenal. I can't recommend them enough. Red Giant software. Alright, so we've got our shine now. So what we want to do is we want to change the transfer mode to add for starters. What that will do is prevent it from making it all invisibly-ish. And we want our ray length to start off at 0. And we want to just change the color. You can manually change the colors here, but if you want to pick a preset, it's fine, just to kind of get the general gist of it. I kind of went with electric because I thought it was cool. I know, so deep and meaningful. And what I actually did here was I just keyframed the shine opacity actually. Knock that down to 0. Perhaps move to about here in the animation, and then just bump that up. Press 1 on my keyboard to go back to the start. I can now just keyframe the ray length and also just boost the light as well. Just kind of get this nice glowy kind of effect. Yeah. You can perhaps change the source point by clicking this, and it'll give you a little target, which is cool. Shoot Declan in the head. But that doesn't quite give us the effect we want, so if we just drag it across to perhaps about there's about good. I might knock down this to about perhaps, I don't know, about 0.4 maybe. There we go. And right, and then I think what I might do is I might actually reduce the boosting of the lighting just a little bit, so it kind of goes up and then fades out a little bit more. Oops, there we go. And I might also knock down the ray length to 0 as well, since it's kind of fading out. So you kind of have this effect where it brightens up, and as it brightens up it kind of gives this glow with the ray length. But then it kind of fades out as his skin disappears, which is a horrifying thought. But hey, cool. Right, so there we go. We've got the basic transition going on there. Now, just to blend this a little bit more nicely, what I want to do is I want to do the same kind of thing with the background distortion. So just to make my life a little bit easier, keep things a bit more organized, I'll just press Control, Shift, and C, and I'll pre-compose these. I'll call this Stealth. There we go. And I'll press Alt and open parentheses to trim it down. Again, you can just drag, or if you prefer to go up here and click on your appropriate option, then feel free. Right, and we're just going to blend this in a bit more by having the Stealth Camouflage brighten up as well, and have the same kind of vector blur, just to kind of give you this nicer transition. Again, this is all entirely down to you guys, what you want to do, what effect you like, or whatever. But yeah, I would say literally just experiment with it, and you can kind of get like something that looks nice. Alright, awesome. Cool. So where was I? Lose my train of thought. I get distracted easily. You have to forgive me. Cool. So we'll start off with our CC vector blur. So we'll just click our keyframe amount. We go to about here. In fact, let's start off with it blurred and then have it fade out. So maybe about, that looks interesting, but probably a bit too much. I quite like the almost like water-like ripples it makes here. So I quite like that effect. So I think I'll probably keep it around about there. And then we'll just move to about here in the animation, and we'll just drop that down to 0. Okay, cool. So we've got that going on. Maybe press U again, bring out our keyframes, maybe drag it a bit sooner. How beautiful it is. Cool. So we just want to change our transfer mode back to add, like last time. if you want to start with our shine opacity at 0, perhaps just move forward a couple frames, bump it up. Want our ray length to be 0, boost light to be 0, colorize. We want to kind of go for the same color. It will help it blend in a bit more, in my opinion. Just makes the transition look a bit more natural. Alright, so when I go back to the start, maybe add a keyframe for your ray length and your boost light. Move forward to perhaps around about here, where it's at its brightest. If you just boost up the light a tiny bit, perhaps add a little bit of ray length. Just kind of want to keep it quite subtle, not too much. I might bump it up to maybe 0.4. It's a bit much still, but we'll just roll with it. Just change the source point so it just kind of matches. And then as the transition completes, just knock down your boost light back down to 0 and your ray length back down to 0. In fact, your shine opacity back down to 0. So you get something like that. I might just quickly tweak that again, pressing U with the key to get my keyframes up. I might just add another keyframe for shine opacity here actually. Yeah, bump that up to 100%. So in between there, it stays at 100% and then it starts to fade off around about there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, yeah. In fact, I might also add another easy ease keyframe just to make it look a little bit cleaner. And there we have it. So just scrub through that. You can see we kind of got the basic transition going on, and we have our snow leopard prowling ninja tiger Declan off to steal people's ice cream. Not a very nice thing to do. And if you just want to add a little bit more polish, if you just want to make your image look a little bit nicer, just make a nice an adjustment layer. So I'm rushing on ahead of there. Go layer, new, adjustment layer, and then what you can do is, if you apply any effects to the adjustment layer, it'll affect all the layers beneath it, which is quite handy, saving you a lot of time and hassle. Maybe just go on the curves, color correction, and we can make a nice little S curve here, just add a little bit of contrast. Yeah. Again, if you have Red Giant Colorista 2, I highly recommend that. Again, phenomenal for color grading. But if not, then curves shall suffice. So just knock down the blue channel just a tiny bit. When you're messing with the color ones, try and be really careful, because you move it down like that and you just get, wow, yellow, blue, my god, my eyes are bleeding everywhere. So just a little bit of that, and just help bring out the vibrance and the green a little bit without making him look like a Oompa Loompa. Alright, awesome. So there you have it really. That's the trick there. If you guys want to be really fancy, I would recommend maybe adding some particle effects or something like that if you know how to. I spent a while experimenting with that, but I couldn't seem to get it to work. So if you guys can figure out how to do that and post that, that would be phenomenal. Yeah, so there we have it. Might just do a quick RAM preview, and we'll just pause it here. And there you go, guys. So yeah, that's the general kind of gist of it, really. If you guys got any problems with it, feel free to comment, and I'll try and answer your questions as quickly as possible. If you guys want anything else in the tutorial, just feel free to message me, any ideas you guys got, and I'll see if I can work out how to do it for you if you can't figure it out or whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to try and do a lot more tutorials in future. This is my first one, so like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Subscribe, and I shall see you soon. Back here again, I guess, even though you can't see me and I can't see you. Funny world, the internet, isn't it? I'll let you think about that one.